Saturn has finally entered the war. He stands at the top of the Pacifista command hierarchy, which is an obvious reason for his presence at Egghead. It would have been a waste to hype us up for nothing with one of the Gorosei and not have them take any action. Oda did not disappoint us, and soon we will witness Saturn's real power. But before I delve into Saturn's powers and possible matchups, let's begin with the start of this chapter. The chapter begins with Luffy spinning Kizaru and tossing him into the sea. However, we can see from Kizaru's face that he is very calm, and you don't expect that in a fight against Gear 5 Luffy. While it might be reasonable to throw Big Mom or other Devil Fruit users into the sea, Kizaru is the worst opponent for this, at least if he is not unconscious. He can literally teleport at any time, but let's not judge Luffy for this. Of course, Kizaru, after falling with his unbothered face, changes his direction and flies back, launching an attack on Luffy with his clones. At this point, from a logical perspective, I don't even know how Kizaru can be defeated. He seems almost like a machine. He can create clones, and he probably can swap places with his clones as well. Additionally, he can just fly far away and spam his attacks, leaving no one able to counter him. It appears that even a strong observational hockey user like Luffy couldn't detect which clone was the real Kizaru. Meanwhile, Vegapunk and Atlas are trying to reach the Fabirio phase. They want to save Bonnie and change the Pacifista's orders with the Authority chip, and they use Vegapunk's vehicle called the Vegatank. Sanji decides to go with them too. Nami, Usopp, and Edison stay in the control room. The Fabirio phase is full of Marines. Bonnie is fighting against them. It was revealed that she was saved by Sentomaru before passing out. Even after fighting Kizaru, he had enough energy to save Bonnie. Kizaru is simultaneously engaged in a battle against Luffy and attempting to eliminate Vegapunk and the other Straw Hats. His clones did some damage to Luffy while Kizaru himself played around with Usopp. Brook is pointing his sword at Kizaru to save Usopp. We had a similar scene back in Sabaody when God Usopp tried to stop Kizaru from killing Zoro. Speaking of Zoro, he is fighting against an awakened Zoan Devil Fruit user, Lucci, and he is not struggling at all. Zoro is mocking Lucci, saying that he is too weak to fight his captain, Luffy. But Lucci is happy enough to kill the number 2 of a Yonko's crew. Of course, that won't happen. I don't think that Zoro is as strong as Luffy, but when Luffy fought Lucci with Gear 5, we did not have a different scene. It's a very impressive feat for Zoro. Also, many underestimate Lucci, but it's clear that he is one of the strongest soldiers of the world government. At the end of this chapter, Kizaru prepares to attack the Vegatank with Vegapunk, Sanji, and Atlas in it. Luffy arrives in time to take Kizaru's light and splits it in multiple directions. I don't understand why, but some people expected Luffy to easily defeat Kizaru. From what we have seen, Kizaru is clearly a Yonko level character. Yes, we all love Luffy, but let's be realistic here. After 2 chapters, Kizaru is pretty much undamaged and unfazed. We can appreciate Luffy's current strength and badass moments, and at the same time admit that Kizaru is a top tier character because admirals, especially Kizaru, are truly underrated. Vegapunk and Sanji reach Fabirio phase and change Kizaru's orders. The Pacifistas are on their side now. The chapter ends with Saturn. To be honest, the Straw Hats are in a very bad situation right now. Bonnie is fighting Marines, but she is already exhausted. Sanji will help her, but he also has to protect Vegapunk. The only good thing is that they have Pacifistas on their side now, but is it really good news? If Saturn joins the fight, I don't think it is. Despite the fact that Zoro is fighting an awakened Lucci, he seems to be the only one who has the upper hand. Kizaru is still pretty chill against awakened Luffy and continues his attempts to eliminate Vegapunk. Also, the barrier is a real problem for Luffy. Kizaru does not take any damage from passing the barrier, while Luffy thought he was going to die while crossing it 2 times. Saturn is very formidable, but the giant robot will play its role as well. Everything that is happening at Egghead is not surprising at all. After Wano, Eustace Kid's crew got destroyed, Law nearly died, and compared to them, the Straw Hats are doing a really good job. Although I still think an important character will die soon. The Straw Hats are untouchable, and Bonnie's death seems unreasonable. If Kumar arrives at Egghead, most likely he will save everyone, but there is no chance that he will survive. He is already nearly dead, and his death will be very emotional, but it will still seem like the Straw Hats escaped easily with some luck. Even if Oda kills Atlas and Edison, it won't be impactful enough. But if Vegapunk dies, the Straw Hats will realize the danger of the world government and the New World overall. It will be sad, of course, but it will be more realistic. Even if Kuma arrives, saves everyone, and sends them flying, Kizaru can still catch Vegapunk. As we saw, Kuma's powers don't teleport people, they are flying. For example, when Kuma sent Luffy to Kuji Island, he was flying for 3 days. Kizaru's goal is to eliminate Vegapunk, so even if Kuma sends him to Elbaf, Kizaru can catch up to him and kill him. He may even be fast enough to catch other Straw Hats, but that will be too much, I think. Anything can happen, and of course, I don't want Vegapunk to die. He still has a lot to reveal. But if the Straw Hats escape from Egghead without any loss after fighting Saturn, Kizaru, Lucci, Vice Admirals, and 100,000 Marines, it will be absolutely unrealistic. Plot armor is necessary, sometimes it's even good, but now it will be too much. And of course, this is just my opinion. Write down yours in the comments. I want to talk about a small detail. When Atlas punched a hologram, she revealed that her photonic gloves make it possible to physically interact with light. Perception shapes your sense of reality. Luffy was the first character shown after that panel. Luffy becomes really smart when he fights strong opponents. For example, he found Crocodile's weakness and defeated Crocodile with water. I believe he remembers Atlas's gloves as well, and he will use them or other photonic objects to fight and defeat Kizaru. Now, let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is the warrior god of science and defense. We may not see any astonishing offensive powers, but as the warrior god of defense, he might show us some unbreakable armor. For now, it seems that Sanji will have a little clash with Saturn. Saturn can cross the barrier as he asked Kizaru to do it. Vegapunk and Sanji are in the Fabirio phase, and Saturn can go there without crossing the barrier. Despite the fact that Vegapunk is a scientist, he will still be helpless against the warrior god of science. It may also be a hint that Saturn will arrive in front of Vegapunk, a scientist, and Sanji, a member with the strongest defense of all the Straw Hats. We saw that right now Sanji is unbreakable as well. His generation powers are amazing. Queen's sword broke when he attacked Sanji, and Blackleg could even damage a Seraphim. No one could do it before. I believe Sanji will attack Saturn with a strong kick, and the warrior god of defense will block it easily. That's where we will see the real strength of the Gorosei. Saturn has an ability that allows him to transform into a horned creature. It is unknown if this power is related to a Zoan-type devil fruit, but his shape looks like that of a bull. One of Christ's 72 apostles was Saint Saturnin, who was tied to a bull and dragged until his death. Another hint is that exactly 600 chapters ago, in chapter 494, we were introduced to Duval, who was riding a bison that looks a lot like Saturn. It was the start of the Sabaody arc. As we know, Egghead mirrors Sabaody, so at the end of the Egghead arc, we may see Saturn's transformation too. Egghead is reaching its peak, and the Straw Hat's future will be revealed soon. Kizaru's story is interesting as well, and I believe Oda has already foreshadowed it a few chapters ago. If you're interested in learning more about Kizaru's future, you can watch this video right here. Thanks for watching.